Hello, my name is Dr. Deanna Minich, and in this segment, I'd like to talk with you about supplements for a variety of different health systems that relate to what I call the flow. On the 7 systems of health chart, this is the orange system, in which we talk about reproductive health, we talk about fats and oils, which enable every cell in the body to actually flow and to transport and to get rid of toxins. And also the gut, how the gut is flowing and moving. Are we constipated? Are we moving too much? And then orange-colored phytonutrients. So I'm going to take you through the landscape of each of these different areas as it relates to dietary supplements and some of the options that you can choose. So one of the first things that I think of with nutritional medicine is looking at a patient. What do you see? Is the skin inflamed and scaly and dry? What about the eyes, the color of the eyes, how bright the eyes are, or even the hair? Is the hair brittle? Is it falling out? So many of the physical manifestations that we can see in a person can tell us something about their nutrient levels. And in particular, I think of fats and oils. The balance of omega-3 to omega-6 fats can determine so many of the different physical exam findings. Whether we have dry skin, have an imbalance of those omega-3 fats, maybe we have some behavioral and cognitive issues, which can also relate to the balance of the omega-3 fats with the omega-6, or even having dry lips, being dehydrated, not having the flow. But maybe we can't hold water because we don't have the proper fats within our cell membranes. So you can see that truly, with our bodies being 60 to 80% water, that we need to hold that water in the best way for our function. And that comes through dietary fats and oils, the right proportion. So my doctorate, my PhD, is on essential fatty acids. And I had 4 years to really get into the different classes of the fats and how we are imbalanced in many of those different fatty acid families. So I'm going to just show you in a very large way here the different families of essential and non-essential. Non-essential fats means that our body can make those fats. If something is essential as a nutrient, it means that our body cannot make those fats. Therefore, we have to eat them or take them through a supplement. So let's focus on the essential fatty acids that you see at the top. Omega-6 fats can also be essential. These tend to come from nut and seed oils. And then you have omega-3 fats from vegetable sources, things like flaxseed, linseed. And then you have the longer chain essential fats, which typically come from either fish or algal sources. When we look at the biochemistry of fats and how they convert in the body, we start up at the top with the 2 different families. So you have the omega-3 fats, you have the omega-6 fats. They do not interconvert. Once an omega-3 fat, always an omega-3 fat. And as you can see, if you take alpha-linolenic acid as flaxseed oil or linseed oil or canola oil, these types of oils, it can convert in the body to longer chain, more unsaturated fats that then lead to reducing inflammation through the formation of different prostaglandins. Same thing with the omega-6 family. The only difference is that with the omega-6 family, we tend to eat a lot of these fats in the diet, more than the omega-3. And then it really changes the balance between the 2. And if we have too much of the omega-6, that leads to more inflammation in the body. So, how do we get more omega-3s? First and foremost, I want to let you know that you can have omega-3 and omega-6 levels in the body tested through most standard laboratories now. You take a very simple blood draw or a red blood spot, and you can set it into a lab and they can tell you the proportion of the different fats. And from there, you know a bit better about how much to give as a supplement. So the long-chain omega-3s that we hear a lot about are called EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. These are long-chain fats, which typically occur in marine sources like fish and algae, and they help with anti-inflammatory activity in many parts of the body. Typically, we think of the brain. The brain is primarily fat. 60% of the brain is fat. So we want to be sure that we have the best fats, the most flowing fats possible. So for those who need additional levels of omega-3s, we need to be looking at a supplement potentially and making sure that it's very high quality, because a dietary supplement can be contaminated with methylmercury and a lot of the different contaminants that are found in fish. So making sure that you have a high quality omega-3 is of primary importance. So when I think of the cell membrane, every cell in your body has a wall, a membrane around it. And if you have lots of these omega-3 fats, many things can come in and many things can come out. So it creates lots of flow in the body, better communication in the brain. Neurotransmitters can come in and out. And that can be very helpful for the cell. It can also change how the cell signals through different proteins that are in the membrane, which can lead to changes in inflammation, insulin signaling, and even stress response. So the properties of that membrane are really important for the overall function of a person. And having these omega-3 fats, this is why I usually recommend as part of the top 3 supplements, one of those being an omega-3 supplement. Because mostly we're getting too much in the way of the omega-6 in our daily diet. So how do you read a general supplement label? And this is just a generic label of a dietary supplement that contains fish-derived omega-3s. This happens to be a cod liver oil product. And so what you're looking at here is the dose. First thing to look at is the dose. So you go to look at the omega-3 fatty acid dose, not the general oil dose, because that doesn't tell you about the fatty acid composition. You need to go right into looking at DHA and EPA and see how much you're getting specifically. So in this case, we see 500 milligrams of DHA, 400 milligrams of EPA. So 900 milligrams becomes your dose. And then what about other actives? Is there anything else in here? Well, because it's cod liver oil, which I tend to like, you see that you have vitamin D. You get vitamin D in cod liver oil just naturally. You also have vitamin E, and you get vitamin A. So you get other things that come along with the fatty acids that are also fat soluble. And in some cases, you have a supplement that includes an antioxidant to preserve the integrity of those fatty acids. So, 3 things to remember with a fish oil or an omega-3 supplement. Number 1, make sure that the company is testing for contaminants. Because the sources of fish oil are so contaminated, you just want to be sure that the company is checking for those things. And also, number 2, pharmaceutical grade, which means that there is caution in how that fish oil is processed and distilled, that it's not subject to a lot of oxygen to make it go rancid. And thirdly, having some amount of antioxidants in the oil, I think is a good thing because it preserves the integrity, the efficacy of the fats. Now, if we think of the omega-3 and omega-6 fats in those families, if we take in the precursor fat and then convert into the longer chain fats, we actually need nutrients to do that. So in addition to having fish oil or an omega-3 supplement, it's worthwhile to have a multivitamin mineral to ensure that you're getting a number of those different nutrients to convert the shorter chain fats into longer chain fats that are more and more unsaturated. So if you look very closely here, you can see that we need B vitamins, we need B2, we need B3, we need B6, we need vitamin C, we need zinc, we need magnesium. Those things are required to convert fats in the body. So here's some general dosing guidelines. These are, again, more based in the clinical sphere, and you'd have to use your own clinical judgment in order to tailor the dose to your particular patient. So something in the way of maintenance. A maintenance dose of fish oil, I tend to think of 1 to 2 grams of EPA and DHA. And for cardiovascular health, if there are no particular issues and it's just preventative, again, about 1 to 2 grams. But then as you start to see more and more issues in the body, increasing the amount of those omega-3s to help to ward off inflammation and to help with heart health and to create more flow, especially even in mental function, cognitive health. Anywhere you want flow in the body, the fatty acids can be really helpful for that. So this is a general guideline or a general parameter that you may use as a stepping stone into a personalized approach for one of your patients. What about fat-soluble vitamins? Since we're talking about fat in this section, I thought it would be useful to talk about fat-soluble vitamins, things like A, D, E, and K. These vitamins, these 4 vitamins, and all of their different isomers are absorbed with fat. So for people who have issues with fat absorption, they might have an issue with the deficiency or insufficiency of these fat-soluble vitamins. People who have had gastric surgery, bypass surgery, cystic fibrosis, cholestasis, maybe they have liver disease in some way. So making sure that whoever you're working with is able to not just take these in, but properly absorb them. All right, let's transition a bit over to also looking at vitamins and minerals for reproductive health too. These are some of the different vitamins and minerals that could be useful for premenstrual syndrome. And this is based on the literature. So things like a multivitamin would be great for people with nutrient deficiencies, as we've been speaking to, and also for women who have a poor diet, where month to month they have lots of inflammation, they're not flowing, they have a lot of pain, and many of the instances that the pain is because of the production of inflammatory prostaglandins rather than the anti-inflammatory prostaglandins that you get with omega-3s. Vitamin B6 can be helpful, magnesium and calcium for helping to reduce some of the PMS that can occur. Here's some of the strength of the evidence if you're curious about dose and the studies that have been done. And if we look a little bit deeper into hormone support, since we're now moving into this way of thinking, this looks like a chicken wire diagram of the many different sterol kind of components and how they convert in the body. And cholesterol is the mother compound for many of the sex hormones. And so fat can drive our hormone levels. And so when people aren't eating fats, they're not eating enough fat, they can really change the level of hormones and create a lot of dysfunction. In addition to having hormones in the body, we have to metabolize them well. And metabolism usually involves things like methylation, or even hydroxylation, or even antioxidants. So if you have patients who are taking bioidentical hormones or having issues with reproductive health issues, you might want to be thinking about having a supplemental product that is targeted to the proper metabolism of estrogen. Here are some different plants, some different herbs that may be useful for hormone health. Things like black cohosh may help with women who have hot flashes. Chasteberry fruit, which could help with increasing progesterone. So as progesterone starts to wane in women at around 35 to 45, having chasteberry could be helpful for increasing progesterone. Indole 3-carbinol and DIM. These are cruciferous vegetable-derived compounds that could be helpful for the proper metabolism of estrogen, as well as red clover, soy isoflavones. There's also a Siberian rhubarb extract that's very good for helping with different hormonal symptoms. And then gut health. Let's just talk about that briefly, because how we are is so determined many times by our gut. the moods we feel, our behaviors, our memory, how we flow through life. And so making sure that we have the proper probiotics, the proper microorganisms in our gut to help with making sure that if estrogen is conjugated through detoxification processes in the liver, that it stays conjugated rather than it is unconjugated by dysbiotic bacteria and reabsorbed. So having good, healthy probiotics is really key for helping to reduce the recirculation of estrogen, which can be toxic for some people. So what do you do for gut support? Well, I mentioned probiotics already because there's so much research to suggest that probiotics could be helpful with mood, memory, immunity, our sense of internal defense, mineral absorption, and even detoxification of heavy metals has been related to probiotics now, as well as elimination, our bowel pattern. So in functional medicine, we recognize what's called the 5R approach, where we can take certain nutrients and supplements and actives and foods in order to remove the offenders that are in the gut, whether it's a yeast or a microbe or a bacterium or it's a virus. Maybe it's a parasite. So how do we remove those things? And then we replace with enzymes and acid. We can re-inoculate with probiotics. We repair with things like glutamine and aloe vera and just really quell any kind of inflammation in the gut. And then finally, rebalance our sense of stress. So I do think that this type of protocol is so effective for so many people to bring in a wider spectrum approach to the gut so that they feel better, they think better. And this can be done over a series of months. And for some people, it takes a bit longer. They might need to do a 5-hour program throughout a year. And then we'll close with our orange food-based phytonutrients. So orange-colored foods, what are they high in? They tend to be high in beta-carotene and some of the other carotenoids, which are powerful antioxidants. They're also very protective for the body. They're protective because they're embedded into the membranes. And they're also important for even fertility and ovulation. Bioflavonoids occur in orange-colored fruits, and they're important for the integrity of the cell membranes, of capillaries, and also helping with skin, vision, bone health, a number of different things. What I like about plants in general is that they have multiple effects throughout the body. We call this pleiotropic. And so you'll see that just taking one nutrient can oftentimes cover multiple bases, as you see here with the orange-colored phytonutrients. So I'll just show you 2 remaining studies showing you how beta-carotene has been positively correlated with plasma progesterone. So indeed, maybe some of these orange-colored foods can correlate with levels of hormones. We see that in animal studies. And another thing that these are important for, these carotenoids, is skin health, where we have a fatty layer right underneath the skin. And in that fatty layer, we can embed a lot of the protective antioxidants that are orange in color. So I'm going to stop here and do a quick recap on orange, the orange flow system of health, in which we talked about fats and fatty acids, the different oils, especially the omega-3s to omega-6. We also talked about hormone support. We spoke about the gut and the 5-hour program, and then closed with certain orange-colored phytonutrients that are important for things like skin health and hormones. Thank you.